that you were actually part of the first WWE incarnation of the Ascension. This
I
isn't
know.
this is just a one-person tag team. You had five people in this.
Yeah,
Five people. Describe to me first how you got involved with WWE, and then describe to me how does the Ascension go from like a faction, and then you don't work anymore, and then to a tag team. How does it? Explain all that.
man. Well, I mean, getting there is a giant. It's a few hours in itself. But to sort of recap it, as soon as you decide you want to be a pro wrestler, the first place and the only place on your mind to go is WWE. So once I started training around 16 and started, on show 17, 18-year-olds, I had a tryout when I was 18. Wasn't ready for it. I think that a friend of mine got squashed on one of the heats when they're over in the UK. And so from 2005 to 2010, I was trying out. Now, I had, it was a weird time because, I was, the first time I wrestled on TV for WWE, I was 18. And then every year, every time they would come to the UK twice a year, I'd be there trying out. So desperate to get signed. And I already felt like I was old and time was flying by. And, Drew, Sheamus, Wade, all these other guys got signed. I didn't. So there's a whole 5 years of it, of worrying that I was never going to get there. And then when I did finally get hired at 23 and got there when I was 24, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't at 37 now. Now I am, but too much time has passed. But I mean, I do wish I had the brain in my head that I do now that when I was 24, but I didn't, and it is what it is. Everyone has their own strange journey in pro wrestling. So for me, I had to go there. I needed those couple of years in the UK, especially when I started. You didn't cut promos. There was no, quote unquote TV. You were doing wrestling. I mean, I was a pretend American. I'd come out with an American flag, born in the USA music, and it was different. Or there'd even be a lot of the shows that I do would have a fake Undertaker on there, a fake Sergeant Slaughter. I think I was like the Ultimate Warrior for a while. So it was just
Wait a minute. You were the fake Ultimate Warrior in the UK?
well, I was called the Warrior Brandon T, but I did wear all the face paint and all that stuff. Yeah. So, but for us it was reps, and there wasn't anything else really. And so, like once I got to developmental, I needed that time to know where the hard cam was to do all that to make your TV ready. Some people don't. For example, my wife Camille, she's not been to WWE. She hasn't gone through that system, but I needed that system. Like she's one of these cleverer people that kind of figure it out as they go. That wasn't me. I needed some structure to be told what's what. And so when I got there, it wasn't like how it is now, where if you get signed to WWE now, they know who you are. They know you exist. Whereas when I got to FCW, it was like an island to itself. Like there'd be a couple of times where like Undertaker, Triple H, some of the writers, Michael Hayes, they'd all come down and they'd say, right, you in the ring, roll around, and they'd take a look at us like that. But other than that, I mean, if they were watching the stuff that was sent every week from the promos and the matches, we had no idea if anyone was watching it or not. I mean, it literally felt like we're in FCW, that's its own thing, and WWE is some other mountain miles and miles away. And so when it came, so when I first got there too, it was like, it's a culture shock. I still wasn't driving. Like it was a big sort of adjustment period, even with the wrestling and everything like that. So after a certain amount of time, Dusty Rhodes ended up like, look, God bless Dusty because he saw something in me, and then one day, I don't know why, I think we were all just cutting a promo. It was a promo class, and Dusty sort of got us all together. It was like me, Tito, Shaw, Connor, and then Ricardo Rodriguez. Ricardo sort of kind of came up with the sort of the rough idea for it, and then once Dusty saw it and realized he could turn it into something, then it became a thing. Once you could see something in it, and so that's kind of how we went on for a while. It's like there was 5 of us, and then Ricardo obviously was already on the road with Del Rio and had that own thing going, so they weren't going to invest any more time in him being in it. And then little by little, Tito then went up on the road to work with come on, Steve, help me out here.
I know everything, but
Tito
not that.
Colon. He's the other Cologne.
Oh, Epico?
Epico, yeah. No, Epico was Tito. And it was
His cousin.
yeah,
Primo.
Primo. So those two went up together. It made sense. And then Shaw was doing her own thing for a while. And then it just became me and Ryan, me and Connor. And so that was awesome. We had a good run together. Everything was going sweet. And by that point, they'd gotten rid of the old NXT where you had to do like silly stunts and just a weirdness. Like I was really happy that I managed to somehow avoid that section of NXT. Like I think that they did have us try out for it, and even on Tough Enough, we had to like audition for Tough Enough while we were under contract too. And luckily, those two things never happened. But me and him had a good little time together, and then Ryan broke his back in a match that we had. I think he took some crazy bump over the top by mistake. I can't remember how it was now, but broke his back. So it was just me for a while. But that was also nice because they were protecting me. So I had a good sort of like long streak of beating people and getting more reps. And, you know, knowing that whether or not Ryan was with me or not, I could still carry the torch. And then when Ryan got back is when that new version of NXT started. And things were going really, really good then. So, you know, and then I still had my issues. And then I think I probably did that for about a year. And then we're supposed to, from what I heard, I don't know if it was true or not, go up after the Shield, or at least get the NXT tag titles and then go up. But unfortunately, I blew that. So it is what it is. But, yeah, I'm close to Victor. And so Victor, they slotted him in my role. So at the same time, too, it's like, that's pro wrestling for you. It's like, you're not invincible. You're just not. You're 100% replaceable. And so as much as it was bad for me and meant that I'll never get my action figures and be on a video game, at least somebody else could. That's the best way I can look at it. It's like, at least because I feel like he might have not had much momentum. He was automatically slotted into that. And it is what it is. If someone's going to pay you a certain amount of money, if Billy turns to me tomorrow and says, right, Tom, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year or whatever to take a poop in the middle of the ring and roll around in it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. You have to realize that, you know, it is what it is. You get told what to do, you do it. And so for me, it was like, well, at least he had, you know, at least those guys had a run and, you know, he got something out of it. You know, that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I put Brian in poop for a lot less than $1 million.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're.
Yeah, that's where you're going. Yeah.
The question was going to be, well, the British Bulldog got rock bottom in a pile of crap. So if the British Bulldog can do it,
exactly. Who am I, right?
yeah, if the British Bulldog can, even Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who's Triple H now, who's the head of the WWE creative, he was in a pig farmer match with Henry O. Godwin back in '95. He rolled in pig shit, folks. So nobody is beneath rolling in crap. And I guarantee you, he wasn't paid $1 million.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for saving me on that quote there, Steve. I appreciate that.
I just want to make sure, because I have Billy's phone number and I could call him right now and say, Tom just told me he'd roll in pig shit. And he said he'd do it for less money than $1 million. So,
well, don't tell him that part.
No, the million. We'll keep the $1 million part in, of course. Yeah. What was I thinking? Yeah. What was I thinking? It's great to see, though, you were happy to see the Ascension do what they did, because I am, at least for me, imagine when you're in the Ascension, you're doing well, you know, Connor breaks his back, you're still there, and then you don't work anymore. And then the Ascension, you know, gets called up to the main roster. So when you see that, what are you feeling? Are you feeling like, damn it? Or like, well, at least I'm not being buried like they are on TV?
Well, this is it. They definitely weren't doing what we were doing. And me and Ryan, it's really weird, actually. Me and Ryan, like, we both, even though he was with WWE previously, we both got hired around the same time. So when they flew me, Martin Stone, and Rampage Brown to Pittsburgh to do our medical stuff. So it's the first time I'd gone to America. And Ryan was also going for his medical stuff too. So he was the first wrestler, sort of quote, American wrestler, quote unquote, that I met in America. He came down the elevator, this big giant man, and me, Rampage and Martin just sat there on a bench going, oh, bloody hell. Like, you know, if he's like all the rest of them, we're with these tiny non-entities compared to these giant Americans. Anyway, Ryan then ended up, me and Ryan ended up sharing a hotel room that night. And funnily enough, had the same dream, which is really weird. It was like one of those stereotypical wrestler dreams where like Vince is in Gorilla yelling, your music's playing, get out. And we're both like struggling to get our boots on, like, oh, no, no. So we both had that kind of dream, which is really weird. And then, you know, once I got to FCW and he'd, you know, finished doing that version of NXT, then we were sort of paired together. It was just really sort of, it was meant to be. It was just very weird when you think back all these things that sort of happened. It was almost like we were meant to be together. So I think it was very heartbreaking for him. I mean, he was there the night that it all went down. And so I feel like even though it has nothing to do with him, I think he's always felt like he bears some responsibility, which he doesn't. You know, we can only control ourselves, and, you know, my actions are my actions. And so I can't remember when they went up. I was obviously happy for him because I want the guy to make money, whether it's our version of the Ascension or not. It doesn't matter. Like, I want him to be happy. I want him to make money. And so, and then just so having him do that was fine. But I don't really remember at what point that was happening. I feel like I was trying to do a little bit of acting and sort of getting up to, you know, grips with Florida independence and stuff like that. And I don't feel like it was that far along before I went to Impact. So it's kind of like my mind was then taken on dealing with what I was going to be going on with. You know, when you're in these other sorts of places, unless you randomly check in, you don't really know what's going on. You're sort of in your own bubble everywhere. So as far as I just know that I would have been happy for them. I just know that it probably, and I know it wasn't the version that Brian would have preferred. Not just take it away, I just meant the gimmick and everything else. Like, kind of one of those weird things back then at NXT. It's like you spend all this time crafting this, and then when you get to the main roster, I mean, it's happened to some guys recently. They get there, and all of a sudden they're not doing what everyone thinks they're gonna or should be doing, and that's kind of weird for the fan too. I understand they want to put their mark on it, but if you've spent several years developmental being this, I don't understand that when you get to the main roster, they scrap that and you do something else. Like, that small or big, whatever, fan base you've already built in NXT, they're confused by it. They don't understand. So it's a bit of a disconnect. I know you want to reach the masses, but if there's already a bunch of people that knows who you are and what's going on, I don't understand why they change it, but I'm not. Again, that's not in my payroll. So